Welcome back. Zoe Flowers here. Whoa, just kicked the camera. Back with another video. And this one is decks for each zodiac sign. And this is a VR to Steph, but it was influenced by Wendy's Occult Compass because I saw the video on her channel and I was like, oh my goodness, I absolutely have to do this video. So we are going to go ahead and get started. All right. So we are starting with Aries season. So my deck for Aries season is, as you can see, the Modern Witch Tarot. So I'm also using my notes from my astrology class. So I'm actually going to be reading a little bit from that because for this, I really wanted to highlight the influence of the planets and also thinking about the house that each sign represents. So, move you into the light. Into the light, Carol Ann. Okay. So, Aries rules the first house, right? And the first house and Aries in itself. So, the first house in astrology has to do with the personality. And Aries has to do with what it means to come into the flesh, what it means to, like all fire signs, separate yourself or distinguish yourself from others, right? Aries is the day house of Mars. And so that means it's externally motivated, external direction. It's all about making things happen in the world. But the reason, again, I picked this deck in particular for Aries is because of the aspect of distinction and identity. Again, what the first house rules. Because the thing about this deck is it's all about highlighting different identities, whether it be gender, whether it be size, whether it be racial or ethnic group, right? This is a different kind of deck. This deck establishes, not only does it establish its own identity as a tarot deck, but it also helps people to see their identities, which, we haven't seen until very recently, very recently, which, I don't have to go into too much detail about that. Y'all know what it is. So I believe that this was one of the first decks that I got that, well, it's the Modern Witch. That was modern. Definitely was the first deck I got where a person has braids in their hair, cornrows, right, or locks, whatever. There obviously were decks that came before this one, I guess. Not too, yeah, because I think this one came out, I don't know, a couple of years ago, maybe 2018, 2019. When did this deck come out? 2019, yeah. So, yeah. So this is definitely the first deck, and literally my hair looks like this right now. So this was the first deck that really highlighted that for me that I had, right? We've got the, gender, expression, our gender expression there. And yeah, I love it. I love it. And we need more of this. More body type. We need all of those things. And then it's colorful, right? It feels very fiery to me. I'm surprised I'm actually not using this deck for Aries season, but part of the reason why is because I've used this deck so much, and the goal of me rotating my decks by zodiac season is so that I can use decks that I don't use all the time. So, but I love this deck. So that's my Aries season. And I'm not going to stop and start the video. I'm going to just go continuous like I did for my 7 deadly sins when I made nameplates for each sin. I'm not going to do that for this one because the house is in the middle of being renovated. It's my mother's 81st birthday. We have a lot of things to do today, but while the renovators are still here, I figured I would hop in and do this video. Okay. Aquarius season. Oh, I'm sorry. Taurus, my bad. Why am I rushing to get to Aquarius? I got a long way to go before I get to Aquarius. Okay. So, Taurus, Earth, fixed. We are firmly in spring when we are in Taurus season. And I feel this feels so Taurus to me. I had a hard time really thinking about Taurus because it is Earth. And so I was looking for a deck that was more muted, at least visually. And Taurus doesn't really give me unicorn vibes, but then I figured, you know what, it is Venus, and Venus can be, Venus is about aesthetics. And I do feel like it's aesthetically pleasing, but more than that, this is like I'm tapping into the more no nonsense nature of Taurus, kind of the just saying it like it is with Taurus. The revolutionary radical, one of the things I have in my notes is most revolutionaries are Taurian in nature. When we think about people like Malcolm X and other famous Taurians, they have that sort of, they say the things that stick with you, right? Like the story about Malcolm X saying that, and people might find this controversial, but whatevs, this is a political channel as well as tarot. When they asked Malcolm X if white people in South Africa were Africans, and he basically said no, because especially at that time, most of the people that were in Africa were colonizers. And he said, if a cat has kittens in an oven, does that make the kittens biscuits? And that is like so Taurian to me. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock, talking about Black people. Plymouth Rock landed on us, right? Tauruses say things that just get to the heart of the matter. Don't talk to anyone. Don't look at anyone. You're the shit. You're giving too many fucks. Be fucking grateful. Stop obsessing. Wake up. You're missing some cool shit, right? This is like so Taurian to me. Just to the point, blunt. And that's that. And that's that. Is there anything else about Taurus? So I think I talked about Venus being aesthetic, so having the aesthetics together. I feel like it's an aesthetically pleasing deck. So one of the things my astrology teacher had said was they don't go with the grain, they go against the grain, which I think I talked about in the revolutionary aspect. Even the thing that got Malcolm X in trouble, right? The thing that got Malcolm X in trouble, hello history, is, one of the reasons why he separated from the Nation of Islam was because he found out about the things that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was doing with young girls in the Nation of Islam. And he went and he talked to those young girls and those women and found out about all his children. And that was something he could not abide. And that was something that he could not, keep to himself either. So that's the other thing about Taurians, right? They're the bull. You're not going to run over them. You're not going to tell them what to do. They might bend to your will because they choose to for a time because they're intensely loyal, which is something else they said about Malcolm X, right? But once they turn, they turn. And so, yeah. So there's your history for those of you all that don't know. And that's my deck for Taurus season. All right. What's next? My other favorite sign, Gemini. So for Gemini, we have the Zombie Tarot. Now, you all might be thinking, why the Zombie Tarot? Or maybe some of y'all are like, no, that makes perfect sense. Because, and I had a hard time with Gemini too, because I wanted to, but I felt like, because I was leaning more on the communication aspect of Mercury and the messaging. But then I thought, Mercury is mercurial, right? It's cheeky. And so I thought, what is more cheeky than the Zombie Tarot? And not only is it a cheeky deck, I thought about the duality of the zombie. Not quite dead, not quite alive. And in a sense, that is a message in itself, right? I would imagine that the zombie, an idea which actually originated in Africa, again, a history lesson. So not the zombies that America gave us, but this thing about you go underground for a number of days, or you take this medicine and it paralyzes you, and what you learn when you return to life is coming up for me now. And what is the message of the zombie? I did a whole thing. I did a video on zombies. I'm remembering that now. I did a video on zombies a couple of years ago before I even got this deck. And I can't remember. I can't even remember what it is. But anyway, what is the message? What is zombie teaching us about how to live? I think zombies also teach us about our fears. The fear of the unknown. Walking Dead was one of my favorite shows a long time ago, earlier seasons. But the fear of death. And so we cling on to life as much as possible, as long as we can, even if we don't have all of our limbs, even if we're grotesque. And don't we do that with relationships and jobs? Don't we, I have, hung on to things long past their expiration date. I've felt like a zombie before, walking into work environments, being in relationships where I couldn't, or felt I couldn't, be my full self. I couldn't bring my whole self. I couldn't bear my soul. I couldn't bear my innards, but I stayed out of fear. And so I think that that is the ultimate message of the zombie. It's like, yeah, fam, you think everything is good. You've got your picnic, you got your suit, you're looking like what America would have us think is like the aesthetic. But there's a vulture back here, fam. And there's somebody coming up from the depths. It's like, what are you overlooking? Huh. Wow, this would have actually been good for Aquarius. Well, just this particular card because, God, when I was a teenager, what was that book? Was it Susan Miller? It was a very popular astrology book at the time. And anyway, I will never forget. God, some people are just, oh, it was Linda Goodman. Linda Goodman's Sun Signs. And that lady said, an Aquarius will walk over a baby in a carriage on their doorstep every day on their way to Disneyland. That's this. Nope, I don't see the hands coming out of the ground. I don't see anything. I don't see the vulture. The vulture that's waiting for me to be their meal. I don't see that. I choose not to see that. Yeah. So that's the message of the zombie for me. And that's what I have for Gemini. Now, what do I have for Cancer? So Cancer, Cardinal, leading. Oh, I didn't talk about. So Gemini is mutable, and mutable just means that it's in between season, has that duality. And so Gemini is between, as I drop the zombie cards on the ground, I'll leave them there for now, in between spring and summer. So then we have Cancer, ruled by the moon. So it's only fitting that I have two moon decks. And Cancer leads us into summer. So it is cardinal in nature. Cancer also associated with the mother, right? Dare I say the queen mother. So we've got these two. So what do I want to say here? Emotions can be indirect or concealed, all about instincts, strongly influenced by the family. Now, I don't really get that. And I guess because this isn't a Cancer deck, so to speak, it wasn't marketed that way. So I don't get that Cancerian feel to this deck at all. Cancer is associated with the United States. The United States is looked at as a Cancerian country that sings anthems to itself. Because it's about nature, it's about ethnicity, it's about heritage, it's about an experience or a relationship of feeling a sense of belonging. And that makes me think about the relationship to the mother and people who have that disconnection to the mother and how that impacts them in life. We're going to get to, now this one, obviously it's a queen, it's a queen. So this gives me that divine feminine, that very Cancerian, and also the water, even though it's the moon. This, because I also was like, what feels watery to me? And I feel like this gives me some of that. Definitely that dreamy quality of the moon, which I think the Moonology does not do well. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a good deck. I mean, I use this deck quite a bit, but it doesn't give me that dreaminess of the moon. It gives me a very, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about it. Wow, I never really thought about it. Huh. Yeah, I never really thought about what this deck doesn't give me, but it feels very, damn, regular. Regular. Whereas this, again, gives me that what is it? Obsification? Obsification? The cloudiness of the moon, the mystery of the moon. This definitely gives me that. Definitely. Okay, that's what I have for Cancer. Let's get into Leo. Whoops. I don't stop knocking this camera. Ruler of the fifth house, the house of creativity, the star of the zodiac. Right? Again, fire, so setting apart. So obviously, you see the fire here, you see the sun's energy here, and you know, this feels very Leo to me. Very initiating as fire initiates, very projecting. This is about projecting yourself into the world. Right? Lifting you up at your core. The goal, I would imagine, in this deck is to inspire a sense of confidence. Lord Jesus. Renovations. I'll be back. Okay, we're back. So, Taurus. Virgo. So, Virgo was another one that I kind of struggled with. So, it being Earth, mutable. So, we're in between summer and fall. And it represents the moment of preparation, readiness, service, the things we do every single day. What else do I want to say? Aesthetics, creation, and value. No, that's Libra. Critique and analysis, health, and efficiency. Yes. So that's why I picked this. So I picked this because of cycles and because of the efficiency. And so this deck is all about, as it says, deepen your relationship with your body's wisdom, the moon's phases, the rhythms of the earth's sacred cycles. And so when I thought about the earth and I thought about the cycles of the earth, I thought, oh, that's perfect. That's Virgo, because nature is efficient. Our cycles are efficient, you know? And so even if our bodies don't always sync up or our bodies do different things, they are sacred in their own way. And this also has flowers in it. and different stages of women identified people's lives. And it also has herbs as well. And moon phases, which I don't know if I said that or not. And so all things that are perfect, all things that are efficient, even when they're messy. Okay, Libra, ruled by Venus. So when I thought about this, rules the seventh house of relationships. I left out some of the other houses, my bad. It's really hard to do these videos when you have people tearing down wallpaper and things like that in the house. But anyway, so I thought for Libra, yeah, I could have went with the romance deck, but I felt like that would be too on the nose. And so instead, I decided to key into Venus and the divine feminine. And Venus takes different forms, okay? She is about aesthetics. I do find this deck to be aesthetically pleasing. She is about partnerships. So I use this a lot, obviously, when I want to partner with certain goddesses, or when certain goddesses come forth and they want to partner with clients or students, right? So this is a deck of this is one of my favorite cards. This is a deck of partnerships. It's also about decision making, even though Libra is notorious for taking forever to arrive at decisions. And so this can be a deck to help with decision making. And I think that this is a cardinal, Libra's cardinal, so it initiates, it leads us into fall. It's about the social order and proportion. So more than balance, it's more about ratio and proportion of social order, right? And that's where that diplomacy comes from, not because we're like nice or whatever, but more because we have a very keen relationship to the social order of things. And I guess that could be where people get frustrated with Libras who are overly concerned with appearance, right? How things look. And I think that that's all I want to say about this deck. So, on to Scorpio, the ruler of the 8th house, the house of life, death, and rebirth. And I couldn't think of two better decks for Scorpio than the Hoodoo Tarot and the Halloween Oracle. So let's get into the Hoodoo Tarot first, just because the box will be easier to open. So I feel like, Halloween happens during Scorpio season. So we have to bring that into it. We have to bring the spooky aspect of Halloween into this, obviously, because it's associated also with the planet Pluto, which can be very cold, right? Scorpio is concerned with the certainty of self-determination. It symbolizes the moment of creating emotional certainty. And this deck can definitely help to enhance that. The psychic nature of Scorpio, the veil being thin. They say the veil is thinnest, or one of the days that it's thinnest is on Halloween and the day after, Dia de los Muertos, right? Mystery, because it's reflective. Scorpio, the nature of Scorpio is reflective, right? So often you don't really know what's going on with them because they reflect things other than sometimes communicating directly, right? And then we get into the Hoodoo Tarot. And for me, this is about, you know, Hoodoo is about life and death and rebirth and the things of life and how we're connected to the plants. Hoodoo is about, plant medicine, root medicine, our ancestor veneration. And I feel like those are all obviously Scorpio tendencies, right? It's a very Scorpio deck to me. This is a deck that really made me nervous in the beginning because I also, I had it, 2 years ago? Yeah. But I still wasn't as comfortable as a reader of this kind of deck because it's different, than the traditional tarot. And yeah, and it intimidated me for sure. And if I'm honest, this deck probably still intimidates me when I think about it. And you know what? Practicing hoodoo intimidates me as well. It's very exciting to put things together, different roots, different herbs, and things like that. But it also can make me a little bit I want to do it right, I don't want to do anything wrong. I want to make my ancestors proud, right? And so that's what I have for Scorpio. This is fun. Okay. Sagittarius. So, Sagittarius, for me, was of course, right? Because Sagittarius, on the one hand, is about intellect. It's about education. It's about learning. So I thought, ooh, what better than a deck that's literally about bookmaking, right? That is about paper making, paper making, bookmaking, than this. And it's also otherworldly, right? And it's also Sagittarius is fire. So it's also gives me that dynamism. Dynamic. Listen, it's dynamic. Sagittarius is about inspiration. Yeah. And many of us get our inspiration from books, right? And so, yeah, this higher learning, deeper knowing, curiosity, again, travel to distant places. This deck feels very distant to me. The images don't really feel like they're human. They feel quite alien in nature. Right? Very exaggerated. And Sagittariuses are known to exaggerate or accentuate the truth, right? They tell truths that might not be true. So, and then of course we have the libraries, which we just love. So, yeah. So we have that, which I love. I don't think I even used this deck in Sagittarius season. That was so whack to me. Why didn't I do that? Maybe this will come out during Taurus season. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. And then we have an easy choice, right? Distant travel, dreaminess. One of my notes here was that Sagittarius takes the Scorpio stinger and launches it into the sky. Deep wisdom, deep knowing. And also that, again, that expansion, that weirdness, that freakiness, that excessiveness. This is a very excessive deck. This deck, to me, is a deck of extremes. Very different than the other deck that's associated with that Chris Ann did, which is the Light Seers. You know, the Light Seers is very accessible. Everything makes sense. It's very easy. In my 7 Deadly Sins, it was my sloth deck because it's just so accessible. It's so easy to read. This, not so much. Not easy to read. Makes me think about like Jay-Z, December 4th. Very Sagittarius. Very hard to read. Great storyteller. Tells truths that might not necessarily be truths. As a matter of fact, one of his lines is telling lies that sound true. Don't test me, I never cower. Wow. He said that. He literally said telling lies that sound true. Wow. Yeah. Very Sagittarius. Yep. That's what I have. And what's next? Don't test me. I never cower for the love of money. Red showers. Okay. Capricornio. Capricornio. My ascendant. My ascendant. Capricorn. Love my ascendant. So they get 3 decks, right? Because Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, the great malefic, the planet of limitation, of structure, but also Sagittarius is associated with, you know, what is my purpose? What are my goals? Where am I going? How am I going to make this money? Always striving, always working, you know, always doing too much, perpetually doing too much, right? And while this deck does not do too much, it's very practical. Also Capricorn, you know, Capricorn is another planet of duality. We talk about that a lot. On the one hand, they're so structured, they're so conservative. And then on the other hand, they are completely, you know, associated with sexual deviancy, i.e., you know, R. Kelly and other Capricorns that, you know, Martin Luther King, on the one hand, a freedom fighter, on the other hand, a notorious womanizer. You know, all of that structure has to go somewhere. And sometimes, you know, it's acted out in ways that are not very responsible. And even the word Capricorn, you know, you have the word capricious, whimsical in that, right? But also very earth. right? Very earth, very pragmatic is what this deck is giving, right? Another cardinal sign initiating us into winter. Ambition, is which is a primal response to time, because Saturn rules time. And so I wonder if, our constant goals and our striving and our wanting to leave a legacy is because we understand that our time is limited. You only have so much time to do things. The other thing that Capricorn is associated with is agriculture. Again, that thing about time, a time to plant. So we have the seed and the sickle, which is it's earth, it's nature. Time to plant, time to be born, time to die. Capricorns are also often scapegoated. And also, they're also, God, did I just say also? They're also often, I said also again, they often cause their own undoing. One of the things I also have in my notes here is we enter winter, the new year, and improvement. So when we think about when we make our New Year's resolutions, is during Capricorn season, right? So much of it has to do with goals, being better, doing better, which is also very Saturnian. As a person who doesn't just have a Capricorn ascendant, I also have extremely strong Saturnian placements, and that has resulted in lots of limitations. Some of them internal that I've put on myself, and also some of them external. And again, Capricorns are often scapegoated, right? Again, going back to Martin Luther King, my goodness, like the ultimate martyr, the ultimate scapegoat, when he was alive, many people, black and white and in between, did not hold him up as a hero at all. In fact, he was often looked at as an anti-hero, which is why we know about his womanizing, because the FBI was tapping his phone, right? And using his extracurricular activities against him, or they tried to anyway, right? And then when you think about Capricorn is associated with the goat. And what did Martin Luther King, one of his most famous speeches, talked about, right, was going to the top of the mountain. He's seen the mountain. He's been to the mountaintop. Very Capricornian, right? And it says climbing the mountain only to return down. Primal response to time, either too much responsibility and then they have to release. Yeah, 100%. And again, often in ways that cause their own downfall. So my other Saturnian deck, yes, Saturnian, is the Tarot of the Orishas. And this is because of the Saturnian influence. So this is based off of Ifa and Santeria and, traditional African religion. You can see some wax on there because I definitely use this for rituals. But this feels very earth to me, especially because we have the dwarfs and things like that in here. But so much of Ifa is about what you have to do. You have to give offerings. You should live your life a certain way. You should have a certain relationship with the earth. There are people who are at different levels of their initiations and things like that. They have to wear certain colors. They have to go to bed at a certain time. They have to eat certain meals. When I went through my ritual, I had to wear white for a certain amount of time. I had to have my head covered for, not long. But it felt very protective. It felt very, like this was, yes. They have to sleep on a mat, for a certain period of time. That's a part of the process. And again, here I am talking about time again, right? Saturn. And then look, there's that goat right there, Capricorn, 5 of Earth. Look, here we are again. Ugh, I love doing this so much. I love doing this. Speaking of which, please like, share, subscribe, promote the channel, because I just love sharing these messages and this knowledge. You know, I was born under a dissenting moon, and a dissenting moon means that your role in life, speaking of my ascendant, Capricorn ruled the 10th house, what you will be known for. My dissenting moon means that that's the position that the moon was in when I was born. It means my whole role in life is about taking what I've learned and disseminating it into the world. So by liking and sharing this video, you actually help me fulfill my life's purpose. Okay, so we are now in Aquarius. So I felt like these two decks would be perfect for Aquarius season. So first we'll start with the Deviant Moon. And one of the reasons that I thought Aquarius would be perfect, also ruled by Saturn, its traditional ruler. Saturn thrives here in Aquarius. So we have innovative connections. Let's see. What do I want to say about this? So this deck has a certain feeling for me of Saturn again. So it's like there's a restriction here to me. There is a restriction here, in my opinion. This is not a free-flowing deck. It's also quite unusual. And Aquarius people, Aquarius fashion, can be quite outside the norm. One is because the Aquarian nature, you know, what other people are on, Aquarius is not gonna be, you know, Aquarius is like, they're not like us, right? I'm not like other girls, right? That's like, I'm not like other boys. That's like their thing, is being different. And deviancy is associated with Aquarius as well. And for this reason, I would say. And one of the things I have here is Aquarians, let's see, where was it? Self-confidence is challenged as it dreads the Leo fixation on ego and ends up with pendulum swings. So I can 100% see that. You know, these swings between extreme egocentrism, you know, and more, dare I say, quote unquote, normal levels of ego within Aquarian natives. I have definitely seen that. Now, to be fair, at that time, I wasn't into houses and all of that, so I don't know what those other folks had in their chart. But, you know, even looking at somebody like Oprah, right, who obviously you have to have a certain amount of ego to do what she has done. But so much of the ways that Oprah became famous was because she was relatable. And she was relatable to people around her weight and her not feeling good enough, right? And now she's like a spokesperson for Weight Watchers. So it's literally like pay me for my pain, like 100%. That, people felt very safe with her. I'm not even going to get into the whole like mammy aspect, but for me, well, maybe I will get into it. Making a certain part of the demographic feel safe. She was not threatening in the ways that an overweight Black woman typically are not threatening, very motherly, again, very relatable to people, which to me, in so many ways, I mean, I guess it's an Aquarian trait. They can be relatable, I guess. But there's also, for me, with Aquarius people, and maybe folks, if you're Aquarius is yourself, Aquarius sun, moon, rising, or you have people who are Aquariuses in your life, that really comes out to me in this deviant moon is that undercurrent of resentment and anger and control. And I wonder if it's because of, and this is just me wondering, if you're like this underneath, which I suspect some of the natives, the Aquarian natives, might feel like this underneath. But they can't show this, right? They can't show this to the world. I wonder if that would create, with Saturn, that limitation, that restriction, if that would create a sense of anger, control, lack of contentment, because one can't be their true self unless you're like Oprah and you have the money to get paid to show people your flaws, right? Like, she's just at a level where she can do whatever she wants to an extent, right? But what about the person who can't? Aquarius also rules innovation, which there's a certain level of innovation here. Innovative connection is what they also rule. There's a level of that here. What if you can't be innovative because you've, I don't know, come to the planet in a body that the world doesn't think you deserve to be innovative? Or a gender. What does that do to a person? It says values group dynamics over intimate dynamics. So again, having influence on the group, control, that Saturn aspect. The more I look at this, to me, is the quintessential Aries deck to me. Aquarius deck to me, 100%. 100%. I'd love to hear your ideas on that. And then the more, like, this might be the unpopular opinion. This might be the more acceptable correspondence to Aries, because Aries rules astrology. So we have the Black Moon astrology deck. Which it's like, fine. Okay, I'll give it to you, right? You say I rule astrology, fine. You give me the astrology deck. But underneath, this is who I am. This is who the fuck I am, for real. Yeah. And I have Aquarius in my second house, and I'm sorry. Aquarius rules the second house. Sorry. So it's all about values, what you value, how you feel about what you have and your self-worth based on what you have. And I have Taurus in my second house. And so, right? And we already said that there's a thing about self confidence and not wanting to like lean into that Leo ego. And so that can be ups and downs. And so for me, having Taurus in my second house, it's like, yeah, my best financial success comes through relationships and networking with groups and working over the internet. It's been very successful for me. I do very unusual work, right? Innovative work, doing tarot over the internet, doing racial equity over the internet, doing healing work over the internet, but also in person, Um, and also, I can be very reclusive and not really wanting to kick it with people or groups, right? And that also like can affect my money and the things I value because, networking again is such a big thing. And networking to me is funny. I was saying this to the person who does my social media yesterday. Networking to me is like, I don't really want to do that. Like, if we're not talking about, UFOs or what I said to him yesterday, UFOs or ghosts, apparitions, haunted houses, astrology, tarot, the Klan, racism, movies. Like, if we're not talking about that, like, I don't really have any, it's like, I don't really want to make small talk. I don't really want to do those things. And so that has definitely impacted my career because, I had somebody for a long time and he would be like, you should go to this event, you should go to that event, you should network, you should follow up with this person, you should follow up with that person. And it's like, man, I don't really want to do that. Oh, I'm sorry. My second house is an Aquarius. What am I saying? So the second house is ruled by Taurus, and I have Aquarius in the second house. So, excuse me. So, yeah. So I don't really want to do all that. And so he'd be like, did you follow up with this person? You have to call and call and call if you want to get a meeting and this and that. And I just had that nature again. Aquarius can be associated with deviancy. And I just had that, I don't want to do that. Like, that's just not what I want to do. Aquarius also has this humanitarian aspect to it. And I have quit a couple jobs because I felt like they were out of integrity. I didn't like the way they were treating my coworkers. I didn't like the way they were treating me, and I quit jobs. So that also has an influence on, the things that Taurus rules, which is like security and things like that. Because I have walked away from things because I just didn't feel like things were right, and that also can be very Saturnian, right? Okay, so here we are. Finally, we have arrived at the Pisces, which rules the 12th house. So, Pisces' traditional ruler is Jupiter, the great benefic, right? Pisces is water, water gives life. Planets are determined as benefic or malefic because they either constrict life, like Saturn, or they expand life, like Pisces. And so, Pisces being a very psychic sign, I felt like this was a perfect deck for that. A very spiritual sign, a very transcendent sign. Pisces often represents exile, away from home, away from others. Could also be because Pisces have that slight martyrdom, about themselves, feeling exiled, feeling that they don't belong. Very escapist sign. And this gives me that. This is I kind of struggled with this one too because I was looking for something more watery, but then as I look at it, this is watery. I mean, this is very Piscean for me. This makes me feel happy, subject to emotional fluctuations. Pisces can be a psychic warehouse. It stores impressions by helping the less fortunate. And so that's that Jupiter influence, right? And that's what this deck is about, right? Work your light. It's to help you through the impressions that it gives you to be your best self. Obviously, Pisces is a very sensitive deck, right? Because how can you be an efficient healer, which many Pisces are, if you don't have that high sensitivity? How can you help those who need helping if you can't connect in some way, feel their pain, right? Again, many Pisces feel like they were neglected or negated themselves. And so that gives them a heightened sensitivity. Wow, look at this. Look what shows up in Pisces. Interesting. It's interesting. Boundaries here, not necessarily known for great boundaries. They know that, like Gemini in a way where they're very accepting of the full range of human emotions. How can you expect the sea to have boundaries, right? And you can never know the ocean truly. So how can a Pisces ever truly know themselves? They are mutable in between winter and spring. The deep ocean, the depth, the darkness. And so that's where that Neptune association comes from, the modern ruler. The depths of Neptune, the unknowable. Can you ever know a Pisces? Yeah. Can they fully know themselves? Do they want to know themselves? So my astrology teacher says here, there is a part of them that they will never see or know because they are mutable. They are at odds and tethered to the world at the same time. Perfect example of in the world, but not of it. And that is what I have for you. That's it. Those are my 12 decks for the 12 signs, plus my rants, my musings, all of those things. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about these decks. Let me know what you think about some of my musings. And again, please like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Bye.